The learned Roman Catholic hagiographer Alan Butler, Lives of the Saints, sub Jan 28, considers Cyril innocent and appeals to the silence of Orestes and Socrates. Walsh, Schrock, Gibbon and Milman inclined to hold Cyril responsible for the murder of Hypatia, but the evidence is not sufficient. Socrates does not attribute any specific role to Cyril in the events leading up to Hypatia's murder. He only observes that the violent act subsequently brought opprobrium upon both Cyril and his church. There is no direct or reliable evidence that he, Saint Cyril, ordered a mafia-style hit on Hypatia. No trustworthy account connects Cyril directly with her murder. There seems to be no proof that Saint Cyril was guilty of this hideous crime. It is known that the murder of Hypatia was not by one of the clergy, but Peter the Reader with a rioting mob. A reader in the church has no priestly rank, so why and on what basis has the author attributed this crime to the clergy? The Christological controversy. 13 years after Hypatia's murder, Saint Cyril was engaged in a fiery dogmatic struggle with Nestorius, Patriarch of Constantinople, 428 to 431. For this reason, Nestorius considered Saint Cyril his greatest enemy and searched for any cause to have him eliminated from the ecclesiastical and theological arena. The state of tension which had arisen between Cyril and Nestorius had induced some Alexandrians who had been punished by Cyril on account of gross moral excesses now to go to Constantinople and there to bring forward complaints against their bishop. One of these complaints had been guilty of dishonesty as a reliever of the poor, the second had shockingly ill-treated his mother, and the third had stolen, and Nestorius had granted these people a hearing. Cyril now complains of this in a fresh letter to Nestorius, and joins with it as the principal thing a request that Nestorius will redress the grievance which he has occasioned by his sermons. Accordingly, we may conclude that if there were any serious accusation against Saint Cyril, that is, that he killed Hypatia, it would have been certain that his enemies would have accused him of such a charge, rather than these other preposterous charges. And so, it is essential to ask, if the accusations of murder against Saint Cyril carried even a small glimmer of truth, why were they not brought up by Nestorius and employed as powerful weapons to utterly destroy Saint Cyril's reputation, or have him deposed or arrested? At the time of the controversy, the Emperor Theodosius II ruled over the eastern part of the Roman Empire from Constantinople. Being the official location of the empire's administration, all of the imperial courts, offices and official records were located in that city. Had there been any evidence that Saint Cyril was directly responsible for Hypatia's murder, there undoubtedly would have been a written record of the case. However, there was never any official documented charge against Saint Cyril. Further to this point, we must consider the following. The Patriarchate of Constantinople was, of course, also based in Constantinople, and thus it would have been quite simple for Nestorius to acquire information from official records. If there was indeed any official accusation against Saint Cyril, Nestorius would have seized the opportunity to make use of these accusations to slight the Alexandrian Pope, and to raise an official lawsuit against him in the High Court of Constantinople, based on the decisions of the Emperor before the Council of Ephesus. Further, the Emperor had given order that no civil accusation should be brought against any member of the Synod, either before the Synod itself or before the Court of Justice in Ephesus, but that, during this time, only the Supreme Court at Constantinople should be the competent tribunal for such cases. Yet we know for certain that records of such charges do not and never have existed, and that Nestorius never attempted to take such action or even raise such a case. On the contrary, we find that Emperor Theodosius instructed Saint Cyril to preside over the sessions of the Third Ecumenical Council of Ephesus, and Pope Celestine of Rome sent a letter to Saint Cyril saying, "Accordingly, since the authentic teaching of our see is in harmony with you, you will carry out this decree with accurate firmness." The Christological controversy reached its climax at the Council of Ephesus 431. However, in the minutes of the council, we find no record of the case of Saint Cyril and the murder of Hypatia. To view a copy of the minutes, refer to C.J. Hefflet, A History of the Councils of the Church, Volume 3. We read in some historical documents, Hefflet quoting Socrates 7:34, page 44, that Nestorius arrived to Ephesus escorted by a large number of armed soldiers of Count Irenaeus. These soldiers sided with Nestorius and John of Antioch and were at enmity with Saint Cyril and the Council of Ephesus. When John of Antioch arrived late to Ephesus, bishops who were representatives of the council attempted to inform John of the decisions of the council. However, the soldiers prevented the bishops and then proceeded to insult and beat them. These events took place with the knowledge and approval of Count Irenaeus. If the soldiers had believed that Saint Cyril was responsible for Hypatia's murder, this would have been an opportune time to reproach and taunt him outside of the council. Yet, the fact that they did not raise the accusation again proves that Saint Cyril did not, in any way, play a part in the assassination. It is unjust to accuse the Pope or Patriarch of any church for the unlawful actions of some people in his community who are influenced and affected by different motives, most of which are political, social or racial. The Pope or Patriarch can only instruct his followers and direct them in the correct path, but he cannot be held responsible for the actions of every group. From the 6th century writings of Damascus to more recent writers like Charles Kingsley, Edward Gibbon and Carl Sagan, the tragedy of Hypatia's death has been used as an occasion for a miscreant humorization that falsifies historical fact, at best in the service of a larger narrative, at worst in the service of propaganda. These tenditious historians present Hypatia as a noble pagan martyr, a sacrificial virgin murdered at the instigation of Cyril, the evil Christian bishop of Alexandria. For further details on the historical background leading up to the development of the falsified accusation on Saint Cyril in the story of the murder of Hypatia, see this link. In order to become acquainted with Saint Cyril, we should examine some of his writings, through which we can discover the depth and the sweetness of his great spiritual character, and also to recognize just how different this Holy Father's character is from the hideous character portrayed by Dr. Youssef Ziedan. This will be the topic of our next video, coming soon.